That's some great news for Apple stock investors as initial results for the latest generation iPhone sales in China look better than they were last year. I'm going to talk about the details of this announcement and these results and what it could mean for Apple stock investors and share with you my fair value calculation and whether or not it's a good time to buy Apple stock right now. That's a lot to cover in the short video, so let's get right in.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
Right, so Reuters reporting Apple's 17 series iPhone sales outperformed its predecessor in early sales in China and in the United States, research firm Counterpoint said on Monday. The iPhone models outsold the 16 by 14% during the first 10 days of availability in the two countries. Of course, China and the United States are two very important countries for Apple. More importantly is obviously the United States, but China is also becoming a more important region because of the decline in sales in that region and because Apple is losing so much market share in China and the opportunity is so large in China that if Apple can reverse those declines and turn it into growth, the opportunity for China to become a big driver for Apple's sales in the long run is huge. But in the recent few years, it's been a negative to Apple's business. So the fact that sales are growing in the region is very good news for Apple stock investors. And of course, the iPhone is the most important product for Apple overall. They sell a variety of products, but the iPhone is arguably the most important because that drives sales of its other products. If you buy an iPhone, you're more likely to buy an Apple Watch. If you buy an iPhone, you're more likely to subscribe to Apple Music and Apple TV Plus. And so that's why the iPhone is so critically important to Apple because it's an entry point to its ecosystem, and Apple is very good at keeping customers inside its ecosystem once they get into that ecosystem. They have a really strong customer value proposition, especially a really strong cost of switching, meaning if you were to try and switch your phone from an iPhone to another brand, the cost, the inconvenience to you would be so large that you would be dissuaded from doing that. So it's so important for Apple to get you into the ecosystem because you stick around for so much time in that ecosystem. And you can see Apple stock price up over 4.3% on the back of this news. Now, I've told investors that 2025 would be a difficult year for Apple to start the year. I did a video asking, should you buy Apple stock in 2025? And I came to the conclusion that no, you shouldn't buy Apple stock. The valuation was already stretched and the company was facing increasing headwinds. And then throughout the year, those headwinds got much worse as the United States placed tariffs on all of its trading partners, especially huge increases on China and India, the two places where Apple manufactures the vast majority of its products that are sold to consumers in the United States. So that was headwinds on top of the already significant headwinds Apple had coming into the year. So I looked at the valuation and looked at the risks and said that it didn't look like a good situation for Apple. And revisiting that situation right now, I don't see very much difference. Apple has improved its customer value proposition with the latest lineup of iPhones, giving consumers a bigger reason to upgrade and switch in their older iPhones. But the headwinds have gotten much worse with the increased geopolitical tension, and the valuation is also still stretched because it's trading at a 52-week high. It's trading at $263 a share right now, and the 52-week high is $264. So it's trading at near all-time highs, and they haven't made very much improvement in some of the critically important categories like artificial intelligence and the geopolitical trade barriers and the manufacturing supply chain risk that Apple faces. The intrinsic value I calculate is $215. So even applying a margin of safety to the current market price compared to the intrinsic value, the stock looks slightly overvalued. And with all these additional risks, I don't see a reason to buy Apple stock right now. So I would say no, this doesn't look like a buy. I have Apple stock rated as a hold. This data point was great news for Apple stock investors, but it's not enough to change my rating and upgrade to a buy.
Hey everyone, so many of you have been asking about my investing strategy, and I'm excited to announce that I've written a book that's available for sale now that describes my 6-step investing framework for evaluating stocks. I've added the link in the description below.